What's up, everybody? My name is Richard Terrell. I go by Kirby Kid, and you are watching Dio Live. This is a daily stream show in which we talk about game design. We talk about game design pretty much 24/7 on our Discord channel. You can join in the conversation there. You can tweet at us, or you can join us in the voice chat as I do these live streams for a more direct, live, interesting conversation. There's lots of topics we cover, and pretty much the topics are inspired by things that we talk about here, so you can join in the conversation and get it started. But today, Zara, a member on our Discord, posted some videos of puzzle games, and one of them happens to be Tetris 2. So we did a few streams before about Jelly Bomber and how it was inspired by Dr. Mario, and we talked about game puzzle aboutness. So this is kind of an extension of that. Lots of games in the industry have sequels, and lots of sequels improve on what the previous games have done in many ways. But puzzle games in particular, I feel like they are some of the worst games to create sequels for out of all the genres. It's just something about it where the elegance of the puzzle systems in the first place, how they sort of are mostly about learning and getting used to the systems through this progression, and it's really about sort of making that process interesting and sometimes throwing in a few twists and curveballs. Making a sequel of that seems a little bit more, it seems to highlight the sort of machine and mechanical parts of the whole experience or the design. Because in essence, you can take any game, any system, just throw in a bunch of rules and make some levels that kind of force the player to understand those rules and kind of do some sequencing or whatever. That's not too hard. So what you want to do with your puzzle game is craft an experience that's more than just, did you solve it? Good, move on, kind of a thing. That's why I talked about puzzle aboutness. And I was like, okay, well, Tetris is really reflecting this really cool relationship between these numbers and how, the buildup of the math that's involved in that buildup. It's kind of like Division, and you build things up and you break things down, you build it up, break things down. That's so solid, right? And it's so simple, it's so intuitive, and it reflects a lot of real-world math and real-world dynamics because it's just almost purely spatial, right? Just putting blocks together, super straightforward. I feel like the more you just throw in rules just to twist things up for its own sake and to sort of delay the point in which players can master the game, right? If it's not about something interesting and deep and about the real world in the first place, you get a lot of strange mixes, right? So I feel like the more meters you add to your puzzle game, the more combo chain special effects you add to your puzzle game, the more of that, the farther and farther away it gets from being about something real or something solid in the core. That's just kind of how I see it. So we're going to look at a few sequels. We talked a lot about Tetris. We talked a lot about talked a lot about Tetris, talked a lot about Dr. Mario. Talked about Jelly Bomber, which was inspired by Dr. Mario. So now this game coming up here, which is called Tetris 2. Let's see if I can show you guys. It sounds terrible. Let's mute that. Save state? Ooh, load state. So F5 and F8. This is the first time I used this website, but it's pretty convenient. I couldn't find Tetris 2 anywhere else. I did a little quick Google search, and this game is not easy to come by, but it's a sequel to Tetris, and we'll talk about its design on the fly real quick as I try to play it for the first time ever after seeing a video about 10 minutes ago. So we're gonna go on low, and we're gonna go round one. Let's listen to what this music gets. Ow! Not quite. Is it too loud coming in on your guys' end? Let me mute this and then take a listen to it. Let's listen to it. Coming in on your guys' end? Yeah, it's pretty loud. Okay, so we're just gonna not do that. Back to this. We're gonna start a game, and I'm gonna talk about what I think is super interesting about this game. So, as you might imagine, a lot of games use the Tetris sort of base, and while Tetris uses the tetraminos, the pieces, just to build on itself, a lot of people do crazy things like this. What if the tetraminos or just, whoa, this is way fast for slow. Jeez. So check this out. You got pieces. What are my buttons? You can rotate these pieces like so. And the pieces have colors. You match 3 in a row, it looks like. And then it drops, and then the pieces drop just like Dr. Mario. So these are like super advanced pills, if you will. But you can also do stuff like this. Oh, I didn't do it. Like this, and like the pieces break apart like Dr. Mario, and the chains fall, and the gravity can only be held up if they are directly resting on one of these floating sort of what I call virus pieces, but we'll call them goal pieces, because the goal of this game is just to eliminate all of these pieces with the little dark circle on it. Hey, I just did a chain and eliminated it. So as you can see, how do I pause this? Oh, okay. As you can see, let me see if I can draw on the screen a little bit. Oh no, take a screenshot if you will. The piece down here has like a little shininess to it, right? And that shininess means that that's the super gold piece. You eliminate that, it gets rid of all the other gold pieces. All these pieces I'm playing with in the corner right now are just inconsequential, kind of like Dr. Mario. You should be familiar with that by now. So what this game does different than Dr. Mario, even though it stays with the same 3-color base, as you can see here, you're dealing with much more per turn than with Dr. Mario. Like Dr. Mario's binary pill system, where like you got a pill or you don't got a pill, right? So now I'm going to try to make a chain. Let's see if I can make it pretty successfully. Oops, no! So that's another cool thing. Once you make a match in this game, you can keep matching or rotating the pieces after they fall. Look at that, four chain right there. So like, cool. This game you need 3 to match. Dr. Mario you need 4, right? And if a piece has like a broken element like this piece right here, it's easy to separate them, because once the first piece touches, technically the second piece just goes along with it like that. Tetris Attack is a 3-match game. Dr. Mario is a 4-match game. This is a 3-match game with even more block colors per unit. So every unit right here is obviously 4 chunks to it. So I'm just showing you a little bit of what that means. So it's kind of like a really interesting middle point blend between Tetris, Dr. Mario. Say, look at this. Oh, no, I didn't do that correctly. How about this? And I'm gonna move this a little bit. Oh wait, that's so crazy. So all the time when you put pieces down, they all will disappear simultaneously when all the other pieces have hit the ground. So like right there, see that weird shuffle I just did? That's because you know, the pieces separated, and so all the pieces will fall, and then all the pieces will match, and then all the remaining pieces will fall, and that's the order. It's a really kind of simple order to get used to. So I'm gonna try to zap these pieces on the left and drop them. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Dr. Mario gets incredibly cluttered incredibly quickly. It's a game that I consider that it's easier to trash yourself than to untrash yourself. So in Tetris, you're constantly building up things and making slight mistakes and undoing them over time. But Dr. Mario kind of steamrolls and gets out of control. This game doesn't have nearly that same problem because of the 3-match base instead of the 4-match base. So we're already working, like right now, I should have been trashed a long time ago. I'm just talking and hitting buttons, but I'm not filling the whole screen with garbage, because you're more likely to make matches, especially once the entire environment's flattened like this and it's on the easy level. So I'm going to get rid of this last red piece in the corner, like so, and I'm going to do this, like so, and it's going to clear the last one and eliminate all the reds, and it's going to eliminate all the colors because there's no other gold pieces in the round, and that's basically how Tetris 2 plays, right? So at a glance, I just looked at a video and determined all these things about its design because of the base we were working on. So here's a cool thing. I'm gonna get rid of that stupid whiteboard circle that you guys don't need. Here, there we go. So here's something cool. This game is obviously so like I don't know the history. Should I make it up or wiki search? You guys tell me. Is anybody in the chat? Can they wiki search for me? No one's in this chat. And is anyone in the other chat? Curb Blue, what's up? I got my chat. So I guess I'll do the wiki search. Fine. Wikipedia. Right here. So I'm going to type in Tetris 2. And let's see when this game came out. 1990? And then published by Nintendo in 1993. So let's see when Dr. Mario first came out. In 1990, Gunpei Yokoi. About the same time, I guess. But then Nintendo. July 27th. We're gonna know exactly when this game came out. Wow, that thing's hideous. We don't know the actual day. Wow. So Lost to History. They came out at about the same time. We don't know if one was directly inspired by the other. I doubt that they could pump out maybe they could pump out Tetris 2 in a matter of 6 months, but yeah, I'm going to finish making up the history, guys. We're going to move back on to the game design part. So let's say one was inspired by the other. Doesn't really matter, but obviously Tetris came out first. Otherwise, why would Tetris 2 exist? And then you can see that, like so many game designers and so many things in the industry and the world in general, people get inspired by each other and they try to put their own spin on it. And here's what I've said before about design. 3 stages. Stage 1, maybe I can write this down for you guys. Let's see, stream notes, and I'm going to do this, take a note, and then I'm going to zoom in here, and then I'm going to drag this back over here, and we're going to use this, take a note. So stage 1, stream notes, show checkboxes. Stage 1 is, wouldn't it be cool if, wouldn't it be cool if? A lot of people do this with just about everything. Like, wouldn't it be cool if, you know, that character had a sword, or this game had like a nuke button, or whatever. Like, everyone likes to mix and match things when they think about things. Or wouldn't it be cool if this movie had a different ending? Or wouldn't it have been funny if you fell down the stairs? Like, things like that. Like, this is natural. So that's like the first level of design, or coming up with your own ideas or brainstorming stuff. The next level involves identifying which cools, I'll call them, go well with each other, fit together, and then which cause problems, and which cause problems. So you're like, yeah, wouldn't it be cool if you fell down the stairs? But then you're like, well, if I put that in the last scene of my movie, that would pretty much ruin all that hard work I did developing the characters and making the plot go in a certain way and having a climax, because it'd just be a goofy thing for goofy thing's sake, and there seems to be more cons than pros in doing that. I used to talk to my brother all the time about like the one movie that would seem to take itself seriously and then like goof up, like seriously do something stupid right in the last like minute or so just to ruin quote unquote the movie, and how funny that would be. But the reason nobody does that is, by the time to pull out that idea, you need to have like a good / serious movie in the first place, and by the time you do all that work to make a good / serious movie, who wants to ruin it? Like, who wants to ruin all their own hard work? That's why it doesn't happen. So in the same sense, as you're creating things and you're putting pieces together, some things work together, some things don't, and it's just kind of natural to try to funnel the design and production process towards things that work. And identifying good synergies is a real big part of that. But the final level, which is the only level I consider people being actual designers, like real designers, is solving problems. So this is either after you have some elements that you've picked and they are set in stone, or you can't go back on them, or somebody else made the call and you're like, well, I got to do it the way they called it, right? You have problems, because every design's going to have problems. Design in itself, I think, is a problem. Like, you identify a functional goal that you want to achieve, and you define like your audience or your task, like building a vacuum cleaner. I want to suck up things off my carpet, so functional goal. Then the problem is, how do we get it to work, or how do we get it to work with these pieces, or how do we get it to work more efficiently so we can sell it like this? Like, everything that's designed is a problem solving exercise, because otherwise it'd just be your opinion and you're just selecting things and nothing really matters anyway. So when you get to this point about solving problems, this is what a lot of people don't get to on this level. So you can imagine when people are like, hey, this game called Tetris is out, cool, Tetris, let's just make our own version. And then some people add like 5-piece Tetris, and some people widen the field, and some people add all these goofy rules. Yeah, for any given possible combination of things that are like Tetris, you can imagine goofy rules being added. Wouldn't it be cool if we made the Tetris pieces like spin and then break apart and fall down in different places? That's a random idea, but it'd be kind of cool to think about. But then if you go to here, you're like, yeah, but Tetris is all about fitting blocks together, so it's not really so cool if you're trying to carefully put something together and you spin it and pieces just fly all over the place. Then how are you going to even keep track of those pieces? Are they going to fly like physics? Are they going to fly horizontal and like fall down blocky style? Like, it just doesn't seem to be a good idea with what Tetris is forming. But let's say you're let's say you're dumb and you decide to do it anyway. It's not necessarily dumb, but now you've got a problem you've identified. and now that you're like, no, we are definitely doing the spin too much. Maybe this person like hates T-spinning or infinite spinning, not T-spinning, infinite spin. It's like, well, if you want an infinite spin in my game, you're gonna freaking suffer these consequences. So let's say this person is gonna keep going down this path, and now you got this problem. Like, how do we fit this in design while keeping all the same quality and principles that Tetris established? How do we fit it together? Well, one, even addressing this level 3, you got to understand what the principles and the quality was in the first place. Tetris is so rock solid. The pieces fit in perfectly. There's no ambiguity. There's very clear, foretelling of pieces, very clean, crisp controls. Like, if you want to maintain all that quality, you got to make sure that's there even when you add this new rule. Tetris is also a game that's incredibly deep with lots of intersecting combinations, and whether you do a bag pocket style randomness or just pure randomness, all the pieces have a really high probability and synergy of fitting together and then flattening themselves out again. So like, that's Tetris. You probably want to maintain that cool quality gameplay no matter what you do here by adding rules. Confirm that Tetris 2 is a 6 match, removes all soft blocks of that color. Okay, cool. So we're gonna get to that in a second. Thanks, Sarah. I don't even know if you can hear me. Thanks. So then we have things like, let me see if I can bring up a blog post. Critical gaming. Let's go, guys. I'm going to use the search, which I rarely do because I'm not sure exactly which article this is in, which is rare. This one? This one. Let's see what's up. So I was talking about, in this article series, I was talking about basically kind of what I'm talking about now, that design and art and things that want to convey meaning or make sense or whatever, do more complex things and just be like a random assortment of choices from the creator. Yes, there's a lot of interesting things you can make and a lot of interesting things you can say, but there's not an infinite amount of interesting things you can say and make. And just because you can make a combination doesn't mean that thing is more meaningful or says anything distinct or more clearly than if you picked a different combination of things or you executed on that design better. So this is just saying, like, things are about things, right? And they are constructed in a certain way. They're built around this core idea. This is where I'm talking about Tetris and the core idea in Tetris. And you can't just keep remixing things and constantly be getting quality stuff. There's diminishing returns. And there it is. Not Tetris. Booyah. So Not Tetris is a game, as you can clearly see, that is not Tetris. The pieces have physics-based interactions. The crisp, clean interaction gameplay that you might expect from Tetris pretty much only happens right here. Right here, the person managed to stack up those things on and then everything else is just a freaking mess, right? This is not Tetris, and I talked about the meaning that you can get from this game. It's obviously a joke game. You can't play it, and the fun of it is realizing how poorly it plays compared to what Tetris is and how one little rule change can ruin everything. It's kind of a perfect example of what I was just talking about. But yeah, you can read this article on your own and check it out later, but that's essentially what we're talking about. Not everything fits, not everything gels, not everything is cool when put together, not everything will solve your problem. So you got to be very selective in what you're doing, and it's not just a matter of throwing in a bunch of new rules. It's a matter of understanding design, the functional purpose of things, and your ability to be a good designer is directly reflective of your understanding of what the core things are in the first place, how deeply you've played Tetris or how deeply you've researched any of the things you're inspired by in or outside of games. So we're looking at this, and it's a mix, right? And you can tell it's a mix. It's kind of weird in itself. It's super complicated right off the bat. It's not as elegant as Dr. Mario. It's not as elegant as Tetris. It's not as elegant as a lot of those classic puzzle games, even Puyo, right? So like, that's what's going on here. But what we can do is say, like, well, what is all this worth, right? Is it just another remix just for remix's sake? Like, let's see if I can break these pieces up. So perfect. How cool is that? I love that new interaction. Kind of frustrated me with Dr. Mario and how sticky the pieces are, but I'm getting more and more used to warming up to Dr. Mario, so I'm not going to trash on that thing forever. Just semi forever. That's a 3 match. So apparently if you get a 6 match, okay, so I got to talk about the potential problems. So right now I got a little trash in the corner, But if I eliminate this, I can access it better. But now I got a yellow trash on top. Like yellow trash right here, it lines up perfectly, boom, boom. And then I can do a, let's just tuck this over here, I don't like that. And then I can do a blue right here, slide the yellow and rotate up, I think. Oh, rotate, I did rotate up, I meant to rotate the other way. And then I can do something like this. And then I can probably do something like that. And I need to clear that blue because I want to do a cool chain. So in order to get a blue, I can potentially do this. And then I can get in this area by doing this. I probably should have slapped that red in the other place so I could get that opportunity to open up a little better. We're trying it. We're trying to do this. And I need double red up the whatever. Let's just do this for now. Double blue. I don't want to match that yet. Actually, another double blue. Don't want to match that yet. Where's my double red? This game's a jerk. Here's a double red. Okay, let's see if we can do this. 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, yeah. So very much in control. Being able to match things with 3 means the chains are a little easier to do. The area will get a little less cluttered. So let's talk briefly about the issues I had with Dr. Mario, and I can switch over to Jelly Bomber again because it's the only. I guess I could play Dr. Mario on this website, but let's just keep throwing some support behind Jelly Bomber. So let me just do this. Documents, downloads. Jelly. Jelly Bomber. Here we go. Run it. Move this over here. And scroll down. Play. Hey, there we go. Oh, you're too loud. There, cool. Okay, so this is Jelly Bomber. This is more or less like the Dr. Mario that we've been talking about, but it's got systems on top, including super meters and extra effects if you match certain things, because it has character classes and character matchups and things like that. I keep playing Bunny Girl, but I can demonstrate what I was talking about. What? Okay, controller, fine. Bunny Girl. How do I? Oh yeah, I gotta go down, boy. Okay. Okay, so like Dr. Mario's got this tiny bit of a problem where I think because you got to eliminate all the existing fruits, you know, sometimes it's not actually that big of a deal, but sometimes you have like a trash pile and you're just waiting for the game to give you a color that you can use, because unlike Tetris, this game is color coded and you're going after very specific targeted goals, so not everything is useful all the time. So sometimes, and then having to match 4, right, is a little bit, whoop, that's the slam down button? Where are my rotates? Oh wow, I never played this with the controller. So yeah, having to match 4 like that is a little bit more involved. Sometimes the, like this game has a 3-piece look ahead, which is just trying to give you more and more information. But I'm gonna do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. That caused a chain reaction. I don't want it to cause that chain reaction yet. And I want to do this. Where's my double blue? Let's see how long it takes me to get a double blue. There we go. And not yet. Oop, no. Okay, good. Oh, that kind of ruined my other plan. So the base coming up from the bottom is kind of new. Dr. Mario doesn't do that. The pieces having specific effects like blue helps you, when you match anything with blue, helps you get solid color pills like the one I'm using now. Like, look at the pills on the right. Wait, that must be apricot. So if I match a apricot, I get a bonus. If I match something with the strawberry, there's other things that happen. So like that's extra effects on top. There's a super meter, and there's also trash blocks that come down. So that's like features from Puzzle Fighter. That's features from Puyo Pop / Tetris Attack. That's a feature from Supers, from whatever other puzzle game mix, and it's got like a lot of things. And the individual pieces having properties. I don't know of another puzzle game that exactly does that. They usually just color code them just for differentiation, not for functional differences. So, or like just color matching and not necessarily any additional functions. So yeah, as you can see here with 4-match, things are getting cluttered pretty quickly, and I gotta decide what to do with junk, and it requires a lot more sort of focus and forethought than just kind of like seeing a shape in your head and just putting pieces together. Like I said before, adding shapes and color matching it's pretty intense, because Tetris is just shapes and other games are just focused on the color matching for the most part. And then you get situations like this where the game kind of drags down and my trash is kind of getting away from me, and I got to be careful about what I put places, so I just put some things over the side. Oops. And I don't need this, I'm just going to put it here, and I could just do that here. And then there's one apricot left. Maybe this will help bring it together. No. And then it's in this awkward place that you have to sort of, oops, drag down other things to get rid of it, right? And even if I do, and like this is the end of the game, it's dragging a little bit, right? The end of Dr. Mario, I feel like it's much easier to sort of drag on like this than to be like really exciting or crisp or clear or reflective of how you've been solving up to that point. Like, sure, getting yourself out of a garbage situation is a really good way to be like, hey, look, I'm a better player than you, but for the most part, this is just a small thing that kind of is made more obvious to me because I tend to play other style puzzle games than this. So yeah, so I'm trying to get to the yellow apricot, and I don't want to clutter that hole up, so I gotta just kind of put these over here and get chain matches, and the chains are kind of cool for my character, but not exactly. I can do this. Kind of gets the yellows a little closer, kind of not. I'm gonna have to get rid of these reds somehow. So I can do this. Oh, no, they're trying to help me. Thank you. That random piece right there is actually helpful if I actually manage to pull this one off. And then sometimes you're trying to set things up and things fall, and then your delicate setup that you're kind of waiting for your good color for just kind of gets desynced, and you're like, oh, I was working so hard for that. It's just another weird consequence of having all these different puzzle systems kind of put together in one game. So right, so with the added complexity, it loses a little bit of its focus. Obviously, when you add complexity to something, there's always some kind of trade-off. In this case, some of the issues that I identify with even having anything close to a Dr. Mario base is, what does the end game look like? What do you do with your trash pieces, and how much do you have to think ahead to get to not have the negative consequences ripple too far forward, right? Like, what can you do in the middle ground, mid strategy stuff? So that's Jelly Bomber. Cool. I'm gonna close this and go back to Tetris 2. So let's see how Tetris 2 gets around that problem. One, do I have a video of this? I do. Watch this. Tetris 2. No advertisements. Boo. Music is gonna get me in trouble on YouTube because advertisements popped up. Play Tetris 2. And let's get back here. Okay. So this Tetris 2. Put this cool music back up. So this is a perfect example of that really cool separation technique I was telling you about. He takes this piece from the top, puts just the red pieces right there, just the yellow piece right there, and just the blue piece right there. That's a lot of flexibility that you don't really have in Dr. Mario. Oh wait, can you guys see that? Yes. That's a lot of flexibility you don't have in Dr. Mario. One thing that I liked about the touchscreen version of Dr. Mario that they released on like Brain Age 2 and beyond is when the pieces cause chains and have other individual pieces falling because of those chains, you can actually just use the touchscreen and rearrange those sort of wherever you want, which is cool because you can build it up. I guess I gotta show you that. That's not, I gotta show you. Dr. Mario DS. Let's see. This is probably the best version of Dr. Mario out there. I've never played it. Actually, it's on 3DS. I might actually buy this because I'm really curious about playing sort of a classic Dr. Mario game now after hating it for so long. Hating, just not liking it. So here's the classic pill gameplay that we were talking about. There's a chat. Eliminate viruses. Then it had this Luigi mode that they released. So this is exactly what we were talking about before. Like, how do you expand Dr. Mario when it's just binary pills with 2 pieces? Well, how about you throw Luigi in the mix? And he throws in these L-shaped pieces. L-shaped pieces get you the colors that you need a lot faster. But it looks like the last 3 pieces that they showed on this video have 3 colors and then 1 off color when it's an L piece. Is that just supposed to help speed up the end game? Look, three similar colors and 1 off color. Is that actually how it works? So you're constantly... They added a super meter just like Jelly Bomber. Let's see what this super meter does, right? Oh, you get to drop a weird C thingy, and then all of a sudden it cured all of them that are also yellow. So let's see. Oh, it got rid of all straggling yellow pieces. So look, there's some trash over here. I'll show you. This is trash. This is annoying. You gotta get rid of those yellows before you do anything else, and that's one of the issues in Dr. Mario where it's like, I had to put a piece there, now I have to do and wait to get the right colors to clear this, and it's kind of stally, kind of garbagey, kind of straightforward, and not too interesting, right? So this game added a feature to try to address that, and this special eliminates all straggling pieces when you match a color to it, apparently. And then that helps clean things up. This is a bomb, which I guess is just another type of special. I wouldn't really know. I haven't played this. But you can see the explosion effect. It's pretty big. And you put it in places and it just kills them. So, like, great for killing clusters. That's a needle, apparently. It just cuts through all the way down. And I guess all the way up. So you can... Well, there's no... obviously, it goes up and down. So there's really no need to place it inside of formations. And this is some kind of... Did that eliminate viruses? So it's a virus blocker. So if you get a color match with this, it looks like it eliminates all the same viruses of the color, which is highly, highly powerful. I don't know if they tweaked the super meters because of how powerful some of these seem than others. Look, the L pieces. The L pieces always have 3 of the same color. That would really help speed up a lot of the matching, I think. And then they have this like very puzzly mode kind of thing that they added that focuses on chains and putting into a limited number of thingies. So really expanding on the basic idea, kind of like Tetris DS did. But this is what I was talking about before. Germ Buster is their mode that this touchscreen Dr. Mario. And as you can see, like multiple pieces can spawn at the top, and because they fall so slow, you're about using the touchscreen, right, to manipulate them. You tap, I think, to rotate it, and you can drag them into place. So there's no fast fall either. It's just all touchscreen. You can't drag them up higher than where they slowly fell, right? That makes sense. But the cool part is, yeah, like that. Once the pieces are falling and they're free floating pieces, perfect example. You can manipulate the free floating pieces with the same rules, left, right, but you can't drag up. So right here, the blue is blocking this formation. I'll show you. Right here. This formation needs this to fall straight down at it, but this blue is blocking it, so he moves the blue out of the way. And get out of the way, blue. Perfect. And then drag that down, and then clear the stage. So that's a really cool dynamic element. Everything's sort of stuck, static, and fixed, and you plan ahead in the Dr. Mario phase, and as soon as it's free fall, you're like free fall to rapidly arrange, which is very reminiscent of Tetris attacks, like catching blocks in midair as it falls to make matches. But this is the Dr. Mario-y version. I really liked it. I just didn't like the controls the first time I played it on the DS, and I also didn't like Dr. Mario that much, so that explains a lot. But it's really cool. It's concept, right? That's what we mean by addressing some of these design issues. We're clearly on level 3 right now. We're talking about like how do we address some of these lingering emergent issues that happen with games like this. And what Tetris 2 does is a couple of things, right? Eliminating the sparkly sparkles at the bottom, like I said before, eliminates all the viruses, all the gold blocks in the game. So you got rid of the blue right here, and then all the blues leave. Bye, blues, except for the free floating blues, right? So I'll show you here. Oop, no. These free floating blues didn't get eliminated when this bottom blue got matched, because it only eliminates these gold blocks, the ones with the tiny black dots. So that's cool, right? The goal is to eliminate the gold blocks, but otherwise the other efforts that you put in with the colors are still there. So it didn't completely sort of turn everything into a binary color situation. But another cool thing about putting the gold blocks at the bottom is you have to worm your way down. Sometimes you have to cut a hole by making matches. Sometimes you got to spin pieces properly by making matches. And in this case, break the pieces apart by slotting them down to the right place at the right time. Kind of like that. Very cool, right? So you got multiple types of gameplay happening just in Tetris 2. You kind of got that obstacle course Tetris spin thing going on. You have a, drill a hole and break pieces apart to fit in tinier and tinier, more accurate pieces exactly where you want, which is kind of like the touchscreen Germbuster Dr. Mario we just saw. And you have classic Dr. Mario-like gameplay where you're just stacking things up and making matches and making chains fall down. And then you have things that are more reminiscent of Tetris Attacks or Puzzle Fighters, falling combo crash, right? You can set a lot of things up and have the combo crash work by either utilizing the shiny blocks at the bottom or any other approach, any other matching formula. So that's pretty cool. That actually addresses a ton of problems that I had. Like, these pieces look kind of funky, right? Not all of them are Tetris-y pieces, so clearly they eliminated the T piece. There's the T piece, there's the L piece. They do stuff like this, which I think is great for the breaking the pieces up and manipulating them aspect, like he's doing right now. But obviously they're not Tetris-y. So it's cool, like, next time he gets a piece that he can manipulate and worm all the way down this blue, he's going to definitely match it to the bottom and have a significant advantage. So let's see if that happens. Here's an opportunity. Yep. And separate him. Yes. How cool is that? Got a 4. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. Every stage, instead of just like slowly, methodically going up to down and maybe going to the lower level for very strategic sort of efficient plays, you got a little bit wider band of strategies here. That's what it looks like. Just one more wrinkle. I'm trying to get it on camera, but I think this is it. No? Oh, I'll be able to see it if I fast forward. Whenever you match 6 in a row, it looks like it eliminates all the straggling blocks, not the gold blocks, but the other kind of the same color. So 6 is really hard to get. In order to get 6, you have to have a falling chain. Wait, how do you get 6? In order to get 6, kind of like Tetris, you have to utilize these pieces here, and they have to all be one color, so they pretty much have to give it to you, I think. Maybe, I'm not sure if you can sort of stack 2 colors like this side by side and then kind of put the last 2 on top and drag it down to make 6. I'm not sure if that's possible. But this is like a really one more way to sort of control the clutter, right? Let's say you like messed up a lot of things and you have a lot of junk everywhere. You have one final way to, oh, here's a 6. No, he just matched it. Where's a 2? Where's a 2? Oh, that's a 5. There, I think right here is a 6. So look, sure, it seems like you're at the mercy of the system at this point, but I'm not sure how the random works or how much variation there actually is, or if they use a pocket system or whatever. But right here, you got a 4 solid color and a 2 down here waiting for instructions. Match a 6, and look, all these straggler pieces all around the field that are red just disappeared. One more way to clean up the field, right? So even if you got your backed up all the way to the top, there's one way to sort of get yourself out of that. So you can play to that strategy, or you can play to a drill a hole down and try to eliminate the base strategy, or whatever. Like, there's a lot of variation there. So in general, I was pretty impressed by Tetris 2. I'm going to continue to play because I like video games. That's why. But this game reminded me that a lot of games tried to do stuff with this whole Tetris setup, the whole Tetris formula, if you will. and not a lot of them had a ton of success. So now I definitely buried the blue one in the corner, so that's like trash. Like, I shouldn't have done that. But if I eliminate, let's see if I can get a 4 red piece coming up. And if I eliminate 2, that's probably not going to work. And you can even rotate the pieces. That's a free fall when you break them up like that. So you can't do that. Like, you have to break them up as they're falling, not after they match. There's a very clear order. And this one's gonna fall properly. Check this out. Bam, bam. And then I got the red I can probably slot into place. And I can break this one up just like this. And pretty easy to manage the clutter and color. I still got one buried in the corner, but it's not that big of a deal. You can just trash just about everything else just to make it happen. And then now that it's exposed, I can do whatever I want. Except for this, of course. That's not a good idea. Oh, I can break this up partially. That was not good. So yeah, the game looks like it will never give you like, hey, you want just 2 pure blues? Well, too bad. It looks like they're giving me a lot of yellows. I don't know if every stage has its own like trend or whatever, or what the random distribution may look like. Ah, here's my 2 pure blues. It's over. So nothing can fully save you from not playing well, but I like these options. It's interesting. Complex, but still interesting. So that reminds me of other puzzle games we'll take a look at real quick. Things like Quetzal's Corridors. Where is it? Right here. Right here. So this was a game on the 3DS. Also kind of inspired by Tetris.
In 2010...
Stop talking. And you're just a little piece and you fly down the corridors like this. And you have to line them up. It's on the 3DS, so judging the distance is particularly clear and fun. You rotate the pieces, and if you can fill up the shape or rotate and spin it, you get these extra tricks. So it's not just about lining things up, it's about the crazy things you can do as you line it up. And inside the holes, you can see there's these, where is it? If you can see right there in the bottom right corner, it's a pink thing, and those are basically like hearts for extra points or coins. Oops. Well. And you rotate your piece like this, and you go down the hallway, and sometimes the hallway's narrow. Sometimes you get extra points for filling up the entire shape with your ghost before sliding down the hole. That's what happened kind of right there. You can see it a little bit better here. He fills up the entire space like that, and then it locks into place, so you get extra points for doing that, and they call it a trick. And you try to survive a number of walls as it goes down and down and down. So what's crazy about this game is it's got other modes. You get pieces that are much more complicated than this. This is like the most basic piece in the game. But you get some that are actually 3-dimensionally unique, like the 3-dimensional keys and the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, where you have to like, whoa, it's rotating in, you're like, wait, where's that one piece? Like, 3 dimensions, right? So it's pretty complicated. Taking this core basic idea of rotating pieces, but instead of worrying about stacking things up and having the pieces' shapes be relevant, ripple forward, you got this little, I call this more of an action game. You got this obstacle course you're trying to play along in and trying to fit it in as quickly as possible. Not much of a puzzle at all, just being aware of what the rotation is and putting a square peg in a square hole or whatever, over and over and over. The reason why Tetris is a puzzle game is because you are not just matching up a square peg to a square hole and just trying to do it as quickly as possible. Tetris, there's so many more combinations, and it reflects so many more sort of higher level of thinking and organization just to pull it off. There's these like quick draw modes right here where you start with the rotation, and in as few moves as possible, you got to match it to the thing in the back. So you have to really memorize which buttons rotate which way. And I've always been bad at that with Tetris. I'm just like, left, right. Which one is it? I probably should just sit down and clear my mind and get it right. But in this game, it's pretty cool because every time they give you a new challenge, it leaves the shape. No, it doesn't. It resets the shape. So you kind of have to look at what shape they give you by default right here. I think it always starts in the same place. I think I remember that correctly. Let's go back and see that. So that one's always starting straight up. Yeah. Well, that was the same round. Well, I guess they just start you off in a random rotation. You just got to really quickly recognize which one you're in. I remember playing this entire game. I beat all the modes and I beat the final boss. I think the final boss looks something like this. See that? Like crazy Tetris monster, man. But yeah, there's something about this game that I felt was a little flat. And I think it's exactly what I just explained. Like, it's more of an action game and kind of a goofy one at that. You're rotating pieces and it's kind of cool for a little bit, but then a whole game like that, and you're like, I'm just fitting the square peg to the square hole over and over, and it's not really much else happening besides that. It's just why I thought the game was a bit of a drag, but I did feel like they did everything they possibly could with this basic gameplay setup, like with the quick draw, and then there's like a more puzzly kind of version, and there's these action corridor hallways and a boss battle. So that's an example of a decent puzzle game that kind of uses the base inspiration and kind of spins it off in its own direction. Now we're going to look at a piece of trash game. Pick-to-bits. This game has some neat music, but it's garbage. Let's see what happens. Look at this. You can take the pieces from the bottom and load them up into your little, we're going to call that a sachet, even though I don't know what that word means. Sounds kind of cool. Whiteboard, here we go. So you take your pieces like this, you tap them using touchscreen, like cool, touchscreen, then you can you load them up here in the same order you tap them. You can put them back out here in different spaces out into the arena. And then you're supposed to see the color of the matching things coming in. And I think you can hit a button to make everything go down a little faster in case you're, impatient. And the goal is to make, I forgot what it is, matches of, I don't even know, I forgot how it works, solid squares. And then you get these little leftover pieces that drop to the bottom, which also end up being your resources for doing things. So you don't want to waste too many resources in matches you don't need. And obviously matches happen as things slide down. And you're trying to get as many matches as possible in one falling session. So in this case, you want to put a red here, a blue here, white here, red here, blue here, right here, red, blue, blue, blue. Like just like that. Pretty straightforward. Probably one of the easiest examples we're going to see here. Let's see if the person can do it. And see how you can stagger them, and then you have more time to combo after you put the things in, and you can just kind of directly tap them if you're kind of crazy. That's possible. Then they give you these X blocks, where it's just like a challenge to zap the entire structure by putting the block in the perfect place. So again, another example of like Quetzal's corridors is like, oh, is this just putting square block and square peg, right? Like what's going on here? It's a neat idea, right? Let's go back to the well, we don't have to go back, but level 1, like, wouldn't it be cool if, the pixels are falling and you gotta grab pixels from a thing and put them in places? I say, sure, that's cool, but what are you gonna do with it? And even adding complexity to this game, like this formation you see right here, like what, this means nothing to me. If you see a formation in Tetris, you're like, oh, interesting, a very particular combination inside of this mathematical lockstep. You see this, you're like, somebody cut up some starbursts and glued them together. Like, what? This doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean much, right? It's just a formation you have to read and then line up your pieces. So like right here, you might see the player line up some brown, white, and light blue to come on the left. Yeah, see how you're like making the counter formation ahead of time? That's pretty cool. The game doesn't really reward you for setting it up completely like that and not touching it, because you can obviously add to it like this. But that'd be cool if you could kind of need to interpret the shape coming in and make a complex dynamic counter combo. Because there's so many other puzzle games that have dropping combos, but you have to piece by piece set it up with your controller. But this is like interesting. Can you paint it out completely? Exactly what you need? Again, being that direct, it's a little easy. Like, of course I need a green here, and of course I need a blue here, but it's a little something. But the game doesn't do anything beyond what you see here. Even stuff like this, all you do is start matching one, and then you just start reacting. It's like so straightforward. And this white one, you'll leave it because it's already matched. I think they have some blocks that are hard to break. I forgot what the rule is exactly, but when something happens, they drop to the bottom, you gotta match things, whatever. It's a weird game. It's a weird game. So there's many games like that where, I mean, I guess it doesn't seem like much to say, like, some games are successful when they mix stuff up, and some games are not. You're like, yeah, but we're considering it from a point of view of, if we could anticipate and organize the rules a little better, if we can understand the design of the underlying things that are inspired, that are the inspiration, then maybe we can steer ourselves in the right direction. Because if you just believe that design is just a whole bunch of blindly trial and error, stabbing to the dark and seeing if it works, then you're probably going to be wasting all your time. Like, you have to use all the help and smarts and the forethought you can get to cut down on some of this work, because games take too long to make, they're too hard to make, they're too complicated and everything. So that's kind of what we think about design here. We look at a lot of games, we play a lot of games, we talk about just about everything we can about these games, and we kind of move on from there. Oh, I gotta show you one more trash game that I thought was trash. So Pictobits, I played the entire game of Pictobits, every single level and every X level. I know what I'm talking about. I 100%ed it, right? A lot of times, just for my own sanity and education, or maybe those things are a little bit of an oxymoron. Pictobits, right there. I didn't record how many hours I played because it was a DSi game and I didn't keep track of it, but I completed this game 100%. I got every single soundtrack. I got every single... There's like 30 levels or something, then 30x levels, which are supposed to be harder, but the same basic strategy worked. A couple of levels were annoying. The controls are annoying. Tapping those stupid little pixels on a DSi, which is even as big as a new 3DS or whatever. So many times where I tried to tap an individual one, it's like, nope, you got bleh. And I'm like, oh, well, that's just frustrating now. But another game on the 3DS that kind of pissed me off is, what is it called? Donkey Kong 3DS. Minis on the Move. This game. Where's my review? Alright, we'll do this trailer. Oh, cool! Look. I paused it too late. So I can make fun of it. Okay, so you got yourself a chunky, grid-based, Captain Toad-esque, with Super Mario 3D Land graphics in the background game. I'm already on board. Right when I saw this, I'm like, I'm buying it. And I did. And I'm disappointed now. So you race against the clock. It's like, oh, look, you gotta put pieces down. And then the Mario moves, so he's his own kind of timer. And then you gotta put the right pieces in the right place on the touchscreen, and you rotate. The top screen is just for cool graphics. You technically don't need it at all, but it's cool. I like graphics. Nice UI where the pieces were rotating as you rotate the map. You can see that in the bottom right corner. Oh, I'll highlight it for you guys in case you don't know what the bottom right corner means. Look at these pieces as the whole thing rotates. Very clear to keep your orientation, right? You can tap things in the field to rotate them. And this is like their sort of randomly generated like world exploration mode. The map is pretty large, and you got these timers all over the place. You got to keep grabbing timers by putting in the pieces, and your Donkey Kong's the only thing that can grab them. But as you can see here, there's a queue of upcoming pieces, and you can grab any of them that are in your queue. You don't just have to grab the bottom one. You put them out in the field, and your little timer dude walks the path and tries to grab stars and time and do whatever, right? That's the whole point of the game. Nothing too complicated. This is a mini game, ignore that. Yeah, mini games like this using the 3DS and That one looks kind of cool, right? But it was trash. It was all trash. So this is like super basic. There were some mini games in Mario 64 DS that I love. Those are some. Actually, I'm gonna put an award for that. Like, which games have some of my favorite mini games? Let's go to Design Awards. Do I have 64 in here? Kirby 64, Super Mario 3D Land, Bomberman 64, 64, Stackable Abilities. Oh, I don't. Okay, cool. So, games with mini games. Games with a great collection of mini games. Why not? And we're just gonna put Super Mario 64 DS, and we can put like Monkey Ball series because 1 and 2 are amazing, and I can think of more later. But essentially, this game is not that game. Where is it? This game's mini games are so straightforward and slow and boring. And this one, you're like, oh, cool, you get to launch bombs that break away blocks, and if you hit the bombs, it breaks away a lot of them, and you're using the 3D effect and trying to really see what you're doing. But just like Pictobits, a random idea doesn't mean it's a random idea that's good for a game. Ideas are just ideas, and what I do with games is I recognize things in real life that are interactively interesting. And usually that's because they present some kind of complexity. They reflect some kind of complex thing, like some choice or some interaction that I think is interesting. And in that complexity, I draw out the game's, strategy space, and I tune the risk reward for my ideas. And I'm like, this is so interesting. You're going to be doing this one thing, but you're going to be doing it over and over and over. So it's got to have enough interest there. This game was just such a freaking grab bag of junk. And it starts off with some of the worst gameplay base ever, right? So I think this is like Pipe Maze inspired, or whatever you want to call that game. Where's my walkthrough? Almost nobody played this game. Oh no, advertisements. Stop it. Let's go. Okay, so here.
up, guys?
Shout out to
Zach
Zach
Scott
Scott
here, playing Mario
Games.
and
Give this
Donkey
guy
Kong
a
Minis
view because I'm just borrowing some clips real quick. Let's just keep going. Okay, so like you put a path down, and once you do the complete path, it's telling you can tap the next tile to drop it into the pipe on the right. So you can only fit so many tiles in your little queue on the right. That means you have to use some of them. So you're like, oh, I don't want to use these curves. Well, you got to find the right place to use them. That's supposed to provide some kind of challenge instead of just like, I need a straight, give me a straight. I need a curve, give me a curve. You have to sort of think ahead, like, what do I need? And how do I use these pieces that I'm not quite sure what I need yet? That's basically the idea. It's still not very intellectually challenging or thought-provoking, but on this simple puzzle you can see here, you just keep tapping next until you get the pieces you want, and being a simple puzzle, you don't have to worry too much about whatever. Once you complete the path, Mario does a little run, goes through, it times you, it rates you on pieces, something. Sometimes you got to get rid of pieces, so you're like, oh, I don't want this piece there. I think I already did it, blew it up.
This level is the first level that shows you that your playing field is one that you will have to regularly change. And so let's just start with the tiles. And so yeah, we're gonna go. There we go. So we're gonna.
You have to change it actively, right? They only give you the pieces to make this obvious. Like, oh shoot, wait, I need a figure eight.
I'm gonna want to
blow that up and add another piece. Like, oh, that's interesting. So you got paths, and you got paths that cut into paths. But then every time you put a block down, it costs something, and every time your guy's moving all the while, so you got to keep track of its position, and that's part of the timing. Like, oh, okay, so maybe this game.
And I'm gonna try to.
Maybe this game is getting interesting. You might think to yourself, you're like,
No, it's it's available for download on the 3DS.
Let's go ahead.
Drag tiles you don't need into the trash can. Fill it up to get a magic tile.
So then, obviously, there's just not much you can do with the game. Maybe it's not obvious, but you're like, oh, it's just putting tiles down and being a little watchful. You're like, okay, well, what if there are tiles sometimes that you don't need, right? And you don't know what to do, how to get rid of them. Well, we're going to put a trash tile on the field, and you can put enough tiles in there, it'll give you a magic tile, and the magic tiles are, like a super tile. They're very useful.
Don't need this one. I'll never need this one.
So he's putting trash in, gets a blue magic tile. Look at the blue magic tile. It just figures out what you need. You're like, thank you. You're like, then what is this game about? Like Tetris, like I said before, every piece, you can't trash it. You can maybe hold it, but you can't trash it. Every piece is useful. You just got to find the right formation and think ahead and think of all the cool branching connections. But stuff like this is like taking...
All right, now this...
the core, which isn't like about recursive math division. It isn't about dynamic space fitting things together. It's just about putting square peg in square hole and just watching it happen in slow motion. So that's why this game has to struggle so much with putting additional rules and additional crazy pieces just to make sure that you can't, just to delay just a little bit on how easily you can find the solution. And I know these are easy levels, but I played this game, right? I've beaten a ton of levels, or all the levels. Let's see. Let's see how much I've done. Quit bringing back the stupid things when I click X on them. Anyway. On the move. On the move. Where is it? There we go. Mario and Donkey Kong minis on the move. Played it for 8 hours. How much did I complete? I didn't put a note on that. But I played it for 2 weeks. Yeah, about 2 weeks. And it bored me in 2013. Paid... I don't know how much I paid for it, but... I beat it. And it's frustrated me so much when I got to some of the, like... When I found the point of the game where the randomness was, like, butting up right up against my skill, and I'm like, I don't think I can do anything about this, and this is not fun. And this is slow, and it's always slow, and I'm angry. Are there any puzzles about filling the screen rather than emptying it? Yeah, Wetris. You fill up the environment with enough water to clear it. To clear the level, not the water. You don't want the water to be cleared unless you really want to do it. So yeah, this is a game that's just like, oh, why don't we take some ideas and make a game out of it? You're like, how about you take some good ideas, and how about you understand what makes games fun, and then you can work on building that up. Because it really, whenever I see a game like this with a ton of rules and doesn't look like lots going on, I just get the sense that some decisions were made, and then they're like, shoot, not fun enough, keep changing stuff. And then there's a long development process, long enough, where they're like, oh, what do we do? Let's try this and see if it makes it fun. Let's try this. Like, you should already know it's fun, and it's not this. You should have enough experience. Oh, this is cool. When you make a figure eight, you have a temporary opportunity to sort of like, it raises up certain platforms, and then obviously it's going to go down after the time's done, but you get time by just running the race because they set you up to win or whatever. Kind of cool. Kind of just random though, right? It's just one more thing. Just one more rule that obviously you can interact with, but it doesn't change things strategically that much, and the whole base is really not that deep in the first place. Again, boring minigame. So that's kind of our quick look today at different games, what they may be inspired by. I've been playing the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series. I played nearly every single one in the series until they kept coming out with some that needed amiibos, and I did not have any amiibos that were compatible because I bought the Smash Bros. Amiibos. But yeah, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, which is the GBA version, Donkey Kong 94, the Game Boy version, Minis on the Move, which we just talked about, and Minis March Again. All of them different. All of them doing this basic concept of small little obstacle course-like fields and moving characters through it. And these first two, you're controlling Mario like a platformer, which is why they're so cool. These other ones, you're setting things into motion and manipulating the environment, like ladders and stuff, and building platforms. And that's kind of cool in its own way. I think I own one more, but that's about it. So yeah, that's our stream for the day, guys. Got any questions, let me know. Get back to us on Twitter. Join us in the Discord. If you've got any cool puzzle games you want to suggest, send them my way. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time.